finished Assassination Classroom Season 2. In my review of Season 1, I mentioned that I enjoyed it, but I wasn't blown away by it. Highs, lows, things I liked, things that I thought were kind of a lull, a lot of lulls actually. And I said I'm enjoying myself, but I need to know that Season 2 is a step up because I don't want another season of fine, I'd rather just move on to something else. I had an overwhelming response of Season 2 is a step up. And for once in my life, the internet underrated something. Because yes, it was a step up, but it was such a strong step up. It was such a surprising step up. We still had our lulls. There were still a couple of arcs, a few chapters that I just thought, this doesn't do anything for me. But that was rare. Almost every arc in this season was great, and much of it was extraordinary. The season still has slice of life elements like a game of cops and robbers that Karasama goes way too hard on, and general classroom life stuff, as well as excellent battles that are drawn so clean but also carry a lot of emotional weight to them. I love watching Koro-sensei be a teacher first, always. And the contrast between the white magician walking away when Itona can't be a tool for him anymore, and Koro-sensei pulling him closer and taking him as a student even at his lowest moment. We don't know the white magician is Shiro yet, but we get a direct contrast between the two in their philosophy and treatment of these children before we even understand the full impact he has on the story and on Koro-sensei at large. But also, it's made so effective by the emotional impact that it has on the kids. We saw how tortured he was under Shiro, and just like the rest of the students, he comes alive and finds his place under Koro-sensei. And on top of that, we continue to see him invest in their character. They've come far in their training and confidence, but if that progress leads to them being reckless, and recklessness that would harm others, they have to sacrifice their very selves to put it right again. And all throughout this season, in most of the story arcs that we have, there's this tangling of action and character arcs and personal character progress and background stories. As the story progresses and as we're introduced to new villains or we elaborate on those villains, as we have these big sequences of high emotion, high action, we're also tangling in with all of those story beats, the character moments that only grow and strengthen the characters that are already established. Like when the Reaper comes to the forefront, we're introduced to his character and his power, while also showcasing the strength of the characters that we love, and exploring the complexities that make other characters the way that they are, recontextualizing so much of what we've known about them before. Also, the Reaper is just so fantastic in this sequence, like how unassuming he is and yet so brutal. And the students and their bravery is all on display, and the self-sacrificial nature of everyone, I just love it so much. In one fell swoop, we advance the tension, we advance the plot lines, we bring us closer to the culmination of what the story is going to be, the big reveals that are going to happen, the big fight sequences that have to happen in the end in order for us to get to the ending, to the culmination of it all. We advance all of that, introduce more elements to it, continue to drive that forward while never leaving behind the essential character beats that this story is really built on. A couple of other fantastic sequences. Nagisa got huge growth in this season. His backstory near killed me. Seeing the abuse he goes through with his mom, who's raised him with her dissatisfaction and projection looming over everything she forces him to do. The visuals accompanying the story were so strong, and I had a new appreciation for why he blends into the shadows and why he is so easily unseen, as well as his strength for enduring this long through what she's been through, and even still now fighting for himself. Also, the betrayal of Akari was incredible. I wasn't even paying attention to her character, and all of a sudden she has one of the most visually stunning fights in the series, and her quest for revenge that has essentially eroded her life was so tragic. We saw Koro-sensei willing to do anything to protect her, and once again, they fight for the lives of these children above all else. And this is before we understand the full implication of what this student would mean to Koro-sensei as the sister of the woman that started his teaching career. But don't worry, because that backstory comes immediately after. No, the series won't let me rest. Listen, I'm not a sap. I don't get into romance arcs very much. A romance arc doesn't do a lot for me. Actually, you know what I do on my other channel, on my book channel, I did make a video where I kind of analyzed this a little bit more, and I did come to a conclusion of why that was, but you know, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The point is, if we're gonna go into a romance backstory plotline, it's probably gonna mean nothing to me. I don't know if I was just vulnerable because of everything that came right before this with her sister and with all the action and the emotion and Koro Sensei's sacrifice and the kids and everything that went on there. I don't know if I was just, I was too weak or what, but this one got me. I loved this sequence. Going from the reveal of him being the original Grim Reaper, which I was just very unwell at that reveal, to his capture and experimentation and their friendship, budding love for each other, growing over time. The revelation that none of this was his fault, not the moon, not her death, none of it was on him actually. That every single step has been misunderstood by his enemies and by the world at large. We've misunderstood what has happened here, as well as the little sister who's set her life on a quest of revenge because of it all, down to the loss, the regret of not being able to, of not having learned how to heal her, and not being able to save her, and then her love for Class E and how he took that on out of love for her, but then that act of love towards her turned into a genuine act of love towards the kids, and his investment was sincere. It's just like this whole section, this was my favorite part of the series. I know the ending should be. This was my favorite part of the series. The fight with, I lost her name already, my brain. Akari. The fight with Akari all the way through the end of this flashback is all my favorite. This is my favorite chunk of the series. And the whole section completely, it didn't just recontextualize, you know, what I know about Koro Sensei, but the entire series, every scene that's played out up to this point, I now think about it differently because of this. Oh, I forgot to talk about the kiss. See, this is the thing. I liked one romance, so I gave you one. I didn't love the, you know, we have to break her bloodlust, and so Nagisa goes over and kisses her to, like, distract her and break the bloodlust for a second so that they can save her. And I don't, not because I don't think it works, I actually do think it works. She's been acting all this time, she's been lost in this quest for revenge, and having a person-to-person connection and being accepted and loved was what distracted her, what broke that fixation. So on paper, I like it. In execution, I thought it was a little bit cheesy, although it was cute afterwards in the hospital when she was spinning around and giggling and all excited. That was cute. But I don't know. I liked one of them. Okay, one thing before we skip to the end, the fight between Nagisa and Karma was so good. Because again, we're weaving the action and the backstory and the character growth all into one arc. Two boys who this whole time have barely had any engagement with each other actually have a long history. Karma had a normal inclination to violence, which Nagisa didn't, but Karma couldn't handle Nagisa's stealthy nature and got too in his head. At least that was my interpretation of it. I don't know. I feel like Nagisa wasn't terribly intimidated by Karma's bloodlust, by his excitement to get into a battle. I think Nagisa accepted Karma as he was, and they would have maintained their friendship, but it was Karma who broke off the friendship because he was too afraid of what Nagisa was capable of. He couldn't handle it, and so he just distanced himself. So I really think that it was Karma that broke it off. And in the same way, I think that it was Karma, ultimately, that brought them back to being friends again. Because when the two fight, the action is great, the panels are so clean, but you can see the resolution on Karma's face. Not that he wants to do this, but he feels he has to. And they both give it their all, but no one would think that Nagisa could hold out against him, but he does. And even gets the upper hand. And again, this is my interpretation. I don't know, I didn't actually watch this in the anime, so maybe I got it wrong. But Karma seems to have made the choice to stop the fight. He chose to drop the knife and to come back together as friends. Karma was the one that stepped away out of fear when they were kids, and he's the one that decided to trust him again, even after Nagisa showed that he really was someone to fear. I mean, I think, if anything, Karma should have been more distant from Nagisa after this, because it proved that Karma was right. Nagisa is capable of incredible stealth, of intuitive moves, of being able to get past him despite Karma having the brute strength. So he was right in the end. And yet Karma dropped the knife and Karma extended the hand. And I just think, and two, Nagisa was choking him out. Like, he wasn't going to stop. He wasn't listening to Karma saying, I yield. So he was right, but he still was the one that extended the hand. And I just think that, I think that the fact that they had all this time in the classroom and they've been through so much together is what got him to that point. Because now it's not just, I see what you're capable of, but I know who you are, and I know that you're not going to use it against me. I don't know. You might have a different interpretation of that, so you can let me know if you do, but that was kind of that was what I walked away from with that scene. I walked away from that scene really loving both of them. I mean, Nagisa is my favorite character now, but I walked away also really loving Karma. All right, I'm going to skip over some of these other plot beats because some of them were dumb and some of them were fine, but let's just get to the ending now. So the series concluded the way that it always had to conclude. First of all, with an awesome fight. Absolutely extraordinary battle. So intense. Everything that was built up came together. Loved it. It was, I all throughout season 1, I was just thinking, okay, so we'll introduce a big bad villain. It might be the principal, it might be someone else, and that'll be the final fight, final fight. But it ended up being something a lot more personal, something that was riddled with a ton of backstory and emotion. So I love that. And the action was excellent. But then it came down to what it always had to come down to, which was the assassination. This is what we were promised at the very beginning of the series. And while a lot of things changed and a lot of things recontextualized, and the way we saw things and the information that we had about how everything began has all changed, the ending that we were promised stays the same. And it always had to end this way. I was wondering when they went through the whole, maybe we can save Koro-sensei, maybe we can come up with something. Oh, I forgot to turn this on. I thought there might be hope that they would actually save him, but I didn't think so, because it needed to be a bittersweet ending based on the tone and the theming that we had gone through up to this point, that balance of humor, slice of life, great advice, good feelings, and deep trauma and pain and suffering that they've gone through. Like there's a lot of heaviness tucked into all of the good feelings. And so I felt like the ending had to be that way too. And plus, it seemed like Koro-sensei all this time was trying to set them up for the rest of their lives, trying to invest in them so that they could go on after him. And so it just seemed like it had to end this way, and it did. This is how it ended, and I think it had to, I agree. I agree with me. It needed to end this way, because they would keep leaning on him forever if he kept being in their lives forever. And this was their final thing that they had to overcome is, well, first of all, they had to kill him together. I mean, you know, the beam was looming over. It had to happen. And they did it together, but also they had to move on, and they had to live and chase their futures together as well. And the final roll call was so emotional. I did watch this one in the anime, and how long they took to just list off every single name and each student saying that they were here, saying that they were present in their own way, packed with their own expression of emotion in that scene, was so beautifully done in the anime. I love how much they took their time and just let us feel the impact of this moment, of the cost of this moment, and of how much they all mean to each other. And then from there, we get to go back, we get to go to the reunion, we get to see how they're doing, and see that even though they are all using the skills and the tools and the handbooks that Koro-sensei left behind for them, they're also still unified. They still want to see each other and be in each other's lives and continue to take care of this school. And it was, I was shocked when the assassination happened 2 episodes to the end and not the end, but the story was always about the students. It was always about their growth and their future. That was what Koro-sensei was here for. That was his entire mission. That was what he wanted to use this last year of his life. I think he called it a gift after he died, and then he was, you know, he was sitting next to his love, and he I think he said thank you for the wonderful gift of one more year or something like that. And that was what his one more year was about. It was about them. So to end on them and seeing them actually have a future that at the beginning of the story, you know, they didn't think they had. It was a really beautiful way to end it all. Also, I love that Nagisa went through this whole, you know, should I be an assassin? I seem to have these natural skills. I seem to be really good at it. Seems like I should be an assassin. And then realizing, I want to be a teacher. I want to be what you've been for me. And then he gets put in a troubled class. And it's all the skills that he learned, all the training that he had, that he used on those students to get them in line so that he could invest in them, so that he could give them a future too. It was the perfect full circle. Other than the other thing that I said was my favorite, that final scene with Nagisa in the classroom is my second favorite scene in the series. This was a very rambly review, and I know I skipped over a bunch of stuff, so you're welcome to bring up stuff that I didn't talk about. Tell me what your favorite part of the series is. Tell me what you thought about season 2. Chat with me some more. I'd love to chat with you. Please do chat with me more in the comments. I'll see you again soon. Bye.